Good morning. Good morning. In the back, hey, how you doing? It's good to see you guys. Hi, I'm Arthur Lupia on the internet. My friends call me Skip. Hello. I am Interim Vice President for Research and Innovation, but in another life. I've been at ISR since 2001. See a lot of friends here, amazing place. I'm really grateful for things that have gone on here. In my own career, I've been PI of the American National Election Studies. I see a bunch of those folks here. And I don't know how many people, so I was on the committee that built this part of that wrote the grant for this part of the building. Are there any other folks on that committee here? There you go, there you go. So that was fun, right? That was really great. Named after James Jackson. James led that committee. Amazing. So much history here, so much inspiration. Thank you all for being here. So in my current job, I get to oversee the research enterprise of this university, and it is awesome. This university has expertise in so many areas, right? We're so much bigger than most of the other research universities that we can combine expertise in ways that no one else can. And ISR personifies that, right? I mean, ISR, you're bringing together people from all over the world and expertise, and it's an amazing thing. So you see it at the university as a whole. Are you guys getting the feedback? Yeah, so I'm not sure. Should I move away from Kate a little bit? No. You can't, we're going to introduce her in a second. Anyways, here, I'm going to hop down here. Does that help?
I'm not going to do that.
No. All right, well, we'll just try this.
Setting expectations. Yeah.
All right, yeah. So amazing things going on here, but what you know if you work here is all the incredible people you meet. And I want to introduce you to two people right now who we're going to talk to for a couple minutes about ISR, past, present, and future. So Laurie McCauley is Provost and Executive Vice President for Academic Affairs at the University of Michigan. Prior to her appointment as Provost in May of 2022, she served as the Dean of the School of Dentistry. She is the William K. and Marianne Najjar Professor of Periodontics in the Dental School and a Professor of Pathology in the Medical School. Next time I introduce you, I'm just going to say what you're not. It's shorter. Professor McCauley has done so many amazing things at this university and as provost, particularly in being a champion for diversity, equity, and inclusion. She's received the Ida Gray Award for her outstanding efforts in promoting multicultural activities. As dean, she also actively worked to reduce student debt and oversee a $142 million expansion and renovation of the dental school's clinical and educational facilities. And as you know now, she's one of the key principals of Vision 2034, and so many of the great things that are happening at the university come from just the amazing leadership that the provost brings. And as if that weren't enough, right, we also have on the stage our good friend Kate Cagney, right? Kate has served as the director of ISR since September of 2021. She's a professor of sociology in LSA and holds research professorships in the Survey Research Center and in the Pop Studies Center. Her work studies social inequality and its relationship to health with a focus on neighborhood, race, aging, and the life course. Kate's a great leader of ISR. If you haven't seen the research, if you're looking for multidisciplinary, multifaceted social impact, it's like, in the dictionary of such things, it's probably on page 1 or 2. It's really amazing work if you haven't encountered it. So, Kate, congratulations to you and everyone here on the 75th anniversary of this milestone of ISR, a world leader in social science research. We carry a proud legacy, and we all know in the room that this place is just getting started, right? We're just getting started. All right, and on that note, let's start our conversation. So we have a couple questions. We'll start with the first one. So ISR has played an incredible role, such an important role in the evolution of the University of Michigan for the past 75 years. Kate, Dr. Cagney, how do you see that role evolving alongside emerging trends and developments in social science research?
Thanks, Skip. And I want to thank Bob Groves for really setting the stage for the response to this question and really thinking about our central role in interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary science. We learned through our Research and Creative Practice Council that's through OVPR, that desire on behalf of federal agencies, of our larger communities, is to see more work that's really at the edges of the disciplines. And I think we provide a model at this university for how one brings together many different disciplines to speak to questions that have potential fundamental societal impact. I'd also say, so I really see that as a key emerging trend. I'd say another trend is something that's more of a circumstance right now, and that's really sort of how people are a bit reticent to answer our questions in our surveys. And Arlen Thornton, my friend and colleague, also noted more broadly that people just aren't answering the door at home anymore. And so that has significant implications for our science. And so I feel like we're responding to that emerging trend through the work of Brady West, Sung-Hee Lee, James Wagner, in terms of thinking about response rates. Our interviewer labor force, Pam Davis-Keene has put together a committee to think about a potential panel response from a survey research standpoint and really putting those panel respondents together. We're always thinking about our surveys as foundational, but also recognizing, and I think Bob really motivated this well, that through other kinds of data linkages, big and found data, that can enhance the way we're approaching things. So he used this notion of blending, which I liked so much. And I'd say finally, critical development, I think Laurie will probably speak to this too, of course, is AI. And how we're thinking about what that means, how we need to be nimble, think about that for our science. I was just at a National Academies meeting a couple weeks ago, and someone proposed an idea of using AI to create synthetic respondents so that we no longer collect data. There was some concern in the room about this advent, let me say. And and it reminded me of something that a board member said to me recently. He said, have you thought about what your Tesla moment is? And he said, you don't want to be GM in all of this. And I thought, that's such an interesting insight. We always want to be ahead in terms of thinking about our science and modernizing our science. And I'll just close by saying that one way we are responding is through our developing philanthropy. And I toast Henry Jewell and his colleagues for really developing that component of our portfolio at ISR. It's been so critical for early stage researchers and for risky science. And Grace mentioned this earlier. She feels like this is a place where she can really take risks. But we want to make sure we can meet her desire with resources that we can bring in a fairly rapid fashion. And I'll just mention Wallace House, the Khan Innovation Fund, SOMAR, the Stone Center. All of these have really come together through our philanthropic pursuits. So I'll close there.
Right, thank you. And Provost, from a broader university perspective, what role do you see ISR playing in the university's overall mission?
Well, let me just start by saying I believe Skip is the first vice president for research who is a social scientist at our university. So
okay,
I think that's a really, I think that shows the university's appreciation for social science. Let me also just say happy 75th anniversary. What a storied history, Bob Groves. It was great to listen to your reflections on ISR. ISR is a gem on our campus, and when you talk about our university mission, one of the aspects of our mission that I really love is our responsibility to create leaders who challenge the present and enrich the future. And ISR has done that for 75 years, really solidly, in the mission of the university. So kudos to you for that. I believe Bob also mentioned Lickert, one of the founders of ISR. I actually just learned last week, because I was at the CEW, the Center for Education of Women Plus, their 60th anniversary. And I was told that Lickert's spouse actually helped to found the CEW. And so I think that just shows, the impact and the really rippling effect of ISR across our university, because CEW Plus has just had a huge impact in supporting women and now really a broader community on our campus. So kudos to that. I don't have to go far to mention the work that ISR did on the Salk vaccination and setting up, the studies for that, developing the whole concept of organizational theory. Again, just really landmark work on our campus. Skip had mentioned Vision 2034, so our campus had gone through a year-and-a-half process really pulling from our communities across our campus of who we are as a university and who we want to become in 10 years, in a 10-year time frame. And from that work, we came up with 4 pillars. And I think you will clearly see that ISR is heavily invested in each of these pillars. 1 is a life-changing education. 2, climate action and sustainability. 3, democracy and civic engagement. And 4, health and wellness. So the work that ISR does really elevates those pillars. And foundations to those pillars are the arts, DEI, technology, AI. Again and again, you just see how ISR really elevates our campus. I'll also just mention that we look to ISR continually for support across the enterprise of our campus. So we are incredibly fortunate and really happy to celebrate your 75th anniversary.
Thank you, thank you. My next question kind of has to do with decisions that we make about who we are. So ISR has an incredible worldwide impact because of the way that every person in this building does their work, touching communities in our region, across the state, across the nation, and all over the world in ways that improve lives and save lives, right? To do that work most effectively, we know we need everyone, and we know we need to include as wide a range of voices as possible, right? So diversity in the social sciences is critical to that endeavor, and I'm wondering, Dr. Cagney, how does ISR promote diversity and inclusivity in its programs at ISR?
Great, so I think you really set the stage well for that question and in thinking about what our guiding philosophy is. And that's really led by Maggie Hicken and Tara Engholm. There are faculty and staff co-leads. We think it's important to have that kind of team designing our efforts. And our cornerstone principles include really thinking about impactful social science. And that's really critical when we're thinking about sort of what's the composition of the group. Who is making decisions about data collection, about data analysis, about even how we draw our sample, where we draw our sample. Having a more diverse group really matters in terms of both the structure of the science and the interpretation of the results. And again, these teams are so valuable, and it's really valuable for our incoming scholars to see the diversity in the room and to be able to think about role modeling in that way. We believe in the responsibility to share our science resources more broadly with scholars who are members across those groups, underrepresented. Our next generation and junior professional researchers programs really expand those opportunities. And I'm just going to ask, could all the JPRs in the room raise their hands? Yay, okay. So the JPR program is very close to my heart. It is something where we really offer a postbac in the social sciences. So it's 2 years, you can come in and shop. There's no place in the world where you can be exposed to more disciplines and to also, I think, appreciate that other fields apart from economics also are interested in mathematics. I think that's okay to say. There are lots of quantitative approaches and different theories, and we want to make sure our students have that kind of exposure. And then we also help them apply for graduate school if they're interested in such a pursuit. So that's a key element of our of the way we are pursuing this kind of question, and it's really the notion that DEI is infused in everything we do. And I want to note, too, something else that Maggie has developed is a Visiting Scholars Program at ISR with funding to host scholars for underrepresented groups in the social sciences. This is so important for people to really understand the beauty of ISR, what it is, the action and activity that happens here, but it also is really fundamental to recruitment strategies for people to become embedded here and appreciate all that we do.
Thank you. Provost, Michigan is a leader in so many ways, and when it comes to diversity, we've had so many innovative programs. How does what we're doing at a university level relate to diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Yeah, so Skippy, I think you really set the stage there. This campus, this university is renowned for its work in DEI. And you're probably well aware that we set the first strategic plan for DEI, DEI 1.0. We are now in DEI 2.0, and just celebrating the end of our first year of DEI 2.0. Kate mentioned this is really across the fabric of our entire university. So I could go on really and on and on and on with work that's done in our 19 schools and colleges. LSA has been particularly fruitful in their Collegiate Fellows program at hiring faculty fellows from diverse backgrounds. At the university level, I'll just mention 3 efforts. One is the Anti-Racism Hiring Initiative, which was initiated just before I was provost by Susan Collins, and we have continued that work in hiring individuals who are committed to studying racism. In addition, our Student Success Initiative, and just this year we hired an inaugural Vice Provost for Undergraduate Education, Angela Dillard, who's a professor in history, who is launching our Student Success Initiative. It probably would not surprise you to know that students at Michigan are incredibly successful by any measures. One of the industry standards is graduation rates, and our students routinely graduate at higher rates than our peer institutions. But if we look through our data, we can see that students from certain backgrounds, that first in their family to go to college, low socioeconomic status, underrepresented in the academy, there's a gap. They have lower graduation outcomes. So this initiative is using data from our asset group at studying educational outcomes and social impacts on our students' education to look at ways that we can elevate all individuals, across our undergraduate student population to improve their graduation outcomes. And then the third that I'll mention is our Inclusive History Project that is a 5-year project to study the history of this institution in regards to inclusivity and looking at how our university work over its entire 200+ years has addressed and will address in the future our commitment to inclusion as a core value.
Thank you. Thank you. Our final set of questions is about translating research into practice. And one of the things we know at ISR is there's urgency in our moment. It's not just like a deadline to deliver data. It's the idea that when we can make a workflow more efficient or increase the accuracy or validity of a measurement, right? There's urgency because that day we have a new opportunity to give people information that they can use to inform each other's lives. And we typically do that with a large range of folks on the outside, right? So with that context in mind, and all the challenges and opportunities associated with that, I'd like to go to the provost first. What opportunities do you see for enhancing the university's collaboration with external partners and overall impact through ISR and maybe other parts of campus?
Yeah. Well, let me just start and say I think ISR is a role model in this space. I mean, I'd venture to say if you looked at our entire research portfolio, ISR has more external outreach than any other area. I have to say that one of the areas that I have always just been a huge fan is the health and retirement study, which when I was dean of the School of Dentistry, having a healthcare background, I was just really impressed with that long-standing study. And by the way, congratulations, it's just been renewed to 2029 and it's not missed at the central administration level that it is the largest research project that our campus has. That, again, with an external entity, obviously the funding agency, the NIA, but also the Social Security Administration, and now fostering new partnerships with the Census Bureau as an external entity, I think is a great role model there. There's also work around the pandemic and looking at outcomes of the pandemic in communities. ISR is really heavily community-based as an external entity. That has been really strong. Work with police organizations looking at body cam photography or images before and after police training. So linking up with legal systems has been really robust. I think, in the future, and Kate mentioned early on that I'd probably say something about AI. The university is really keenly looking at AI, and we have a breadth of our investigators across our campus and educators that are looking at incorporating AI. We have linked up with external entities in that regard, one of which is OpenAI. The CEO of OpenAI was here recently. And one of the questions that I asked him was, not specifically about the technology, but I said, we're in a point where technology is rapidly changing. And as humans, we can adapt to change, but really rapid change also creates anxiety. And I asked him, so what is OpenAI thinking about potential anxiety that these types of technologies will bring? They are thinking about it. Personally, I don't think they're thinking about it enough. And I think this is an area where social sciences are so important. And I'll just, finish by saying that I think one of the quotes I remember from one of the early leaders at ISR was, the need of the community is the opportunity of the social scientist. The need of the community is the opportunity of the social scientist. And I'm here to say that our communities have greater needs than ever right now. And hence, the work of the ISR is just hugely important. And linking with communities as external partners is huge.
Thank you, Provost. Dr. Cagney, what do you think?
I feel like we could stop right there. I think that's such a perfect framing. The need of the community is the opportunity of the social scientists. I love that. And I love that idea that really it is our mission here to think about social science in the public interest and to really take seriously that notion of translation. And I feel we will continue to do that by delivering rigorous social science, to really embracing what facts are and what they mean, and to continue to share them with confidence. I really feel strongly about the extent to which we train scholars here. And remember when I first came in and we were trying to think about what's the notion of alumni at ISR, because we have a relatively small master's and PhD program in survey methodology. They are certainly the core of our alumni, but so many people are trained here. I'm looking at some of them in the room who wrote their dissertations, Linda, in these walls. And I consider all of those people our alumni, and that they are people who are really assisting in this translation effort. And just to make a quick comment back on AI, I underscore Laurie's points that in order to understand that fear, the concerns, is this moving too quickly? What adaptation might look like? Those are our questions, right? How do people embrace this or not? And in what manner might they, right, incorporate AI into their daily lives? Those are the questions that we can answer. And I'll just say too, in a recent advisory board meeting, and it's actually Bob Groves who pointed this out to our group, the voice of social science really needs to be front and center in AI, but in all of our science. And potentially right now, at the federal level, he suggested that ISR's voice would be welcome, and perhaps part of a chorus that describes how important social science is to all of the work that we do, whether it be clinical, policy-related, in every way, how human beings, right, are operating in the social world is something that we can continue to document and discover new theory from. So I use, again, Bob, as motivation and really laying out a call to all of us in this room to engage in work of that manner.
Yeah, the one other thing I think is important to mention around external entities, and you reminded me of this when you mentioned the people who've trained here, entities like ICPSR who have 800 institutions or 800 plus institutions across the world. I mean, talk about external collaborations. And as I understand, more than 25,000 researchers have come here or engaged with ISR in their training at various levels. And so that just shows the depth and breadth of external links, from ISR across the world, really.
And there are alumni too.
Yeah.
In the way we're framing it.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we are close to the end of time. I want to conclude the session with 3 acknowledgements. First is for our amazing provost and for our amazing leader, Laurie, McCauley, and Kate Cagney. So can we... And the third acknowledgement I'd like to make is, if you've been at ISR for any amount of time, you know that doing the things we know takes everyone. And I'd just like you to take a second to think about, somebody built this stage with great precision and purpose, and someone put these chairs out with great precision and purpose. That's what we do in this building. Every single person who works in this building, who makes the facility better, who makes the computers run better, every single person is needed for the things the amazing things that are done here. So I want to end by acknowledging all of you. The building is great, but you guys make this place ISR, so thank you so much.